So you can sort of see how it would work for a 4-year-old little boy who walks into West Point, right, and stares down, right. You can ask Rupert Sheldrake about staring, right, soul to soul, eyes to eyes, right. And what it means when a monopole with an oversoul comes in as a 4-year-old little boy, and then that 4-star general realizes they're in the presence of the law of one. And this is a 4-year-old little boy. Well, why don't I just hand the podium over to you, little boy? Right? So you can imagine what I would have said. I'm here to protect all of you so that none of you ever have to suffer any soul trauma ever again. That's why I'm here. They'd all look at me like a 4-year-old little boy and go, they'd all either laugh you out, but no, this is just a little boy. They wouldn't seek to traumatize me being a 4-year-old little boy communicating the truth, would they? So you can see how this sort of worked for me throughout my life because I share my experiences of what I was learning through going along. There used to be an old saying when I was growing up, go with the flow or go along with the program, right? Get your programs here. If you've ever been to a ballpark, like a Major League Baseball game, get your programs here. Get your programs here. That's called self-reinforcing what you already know by virtue of being programmed to experience the program, which is the programming, to experience the programming of playing baseball or experiencing a game being played between an inverter and a converter. So you can imagine how that is when you're at the center point of all creation, that is gifting love forever on fire, which is eternal unconditional love at 4 years of age. It meant that everywhere that I ever worked, where you're dealing with a corporate hierarchy, right, of control, and control is based on rules, and rules are based on functions. And math is a function based on numbers, which are energy, in this case, fire letters, which are programming codes. So when the codes have been altered, then the consciousness has been altered because now it's experiencing the codes that fire. But if you're experiencing eternal fire because you're lit up like an 8-day clock, so you know there's no 8 days, that means there's no time based on 7, -7, like in 1077, -7, right? There is no time, Juan. There is no time. There's only what love is. It goes on forever, gifting forever. Remember, that's why I sign my deals. See how it's all coded? Do you see how that can get coded in that girl when she was about 11 or 12 years old in junior high school? When I would sign a love letter to her and say, I will love you forever. Letters are numbers, and always. Always on a compass. From the center point of a sphere, always. That's like a ball of fire. That's like a real star that is gifting you cosmic love, eternal cosmic sun, eternal cosmic energy, eternal cosmic level spirit that is gifting all of creation, eternal unconditional love. My hand is like breathing in and out. So you can see how this worked with everybody that I ever worked with, right? Because they operate on what's called a linear, sequenced, artificial intelligence line of communication, which is a hierarchy to an AI. Okay? That's called obey your master programming. Get on your knees and obey. So they use trauma-based mind's energy control. So they all obey the rules, which means they're obeying all of the programming rules that are programmed into RAM. Binary codes, on and off. Switch the on, switch the off, switch the on, switch the off, switch the on, switch the off, it's on, switch it off, switch it on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off, code fire, code fire, code fire. See, so if you don't obey the rules, what happens? You're punished. And they have all kinds of ways to punish, don't they? They can punish you through loss of electrons. And what does that do? Distort your radio station, one, right? With the intention to do what? Burn the bulb out, particularly if you're running positive electrons. Burn the filament out, burn the bundles out, nerve fibers, fiber optics, right? Burn the strip out. Right? So you realize as a little boy, as I'm working in all these different places, right? Now what we're actually measuring, as my father used to say to me when I was a little boy, being a Speedy Gonzalez, he would tell me, pick your battles. You want to be on the high side, higher state of consciousness, as above, so below. Pick your battles. Pick your battles. But you see, when I realized when I was a child, I'm not at war in my mirror with anything. See? So I realized, stay in your heart and your soul. My soul's running this operating system, led by my spirit. My spirit is what love is. Keep the energy up, keep the energy up. So you're naturally doing all the things that the spirit knows. The spirit knows because the spirit is in the light, integrated with my soul to experience everything that allows me to do what? Maintain the shield. So when the shield comes in, like the big island, when that shield comes in an employment place, and I realize that there are things that are going on there, right? That are war crimes or crimes against consciousness itself in order to drain their batteries. Okay? Then you realize that's a crime. So I've done some things in my time, okay, that would give them a message. And I'll share one of those with you. Because usually wherever I've worked, like, for example, at the Naval Weapons Station in Seal Beach, and there was a guy who actually hired me who was an assistant fire chief. And I realized that what he wanted to do, because you have, well, first, you're an eternal being, as above, so below. Well, that means you can already experience the result, which is the predictive programming side of things by virtue of the programs that they're running, what they're programmed to experience in the future, which is called pre-formatted, which is pre-programmed, what's held in memory, what they're going to experience in the future by virtue through the AI. I was aware of that. I did not want that to happen because it means that people are going to experience trauma around me. Now, I don't want to experience that trauma any more than I want to experience that trauma that's going to be experienced in them. So I was aware of that. So he wasn't aware of that, but he's my boss. So since they have a chain of command, right? Chain of command, which is also known as a chain of custody. They're held in custody as POWs. They're handcuffed because they have a leash around their neck, which is a Mr. Smith. So this is a Mr. Smith that I'm working for as an assistant chief at the Naval Weapons Station. He works for another Mr. Smith. So now what I do is I keep going through every Mr. Smith. So what happens is that Neo is now calling out a Mr. Smith, which is the assistant chief, and now we're going to go meet another Mr. Smith, but he's got a higher rank. In this case, this is the chief of the department. So now the chief of the department realizes he's got a Neo in front of him. Okay? So now he realizes Neo's in front of him. And so what happened was that the chief had decided to be a little neutral about this, but nevertheless, I was not disciplined for voicing my objection, because that's the way it works in their hierarchy with Mr. Smith's. When the highest law is present, in which you're trying to protect everything that love protects, which is the living, and is already aware of what's going to happen to them in the future by virtue of being able to know that, which is the knowing, right? We know, and so therefore we have an obligation out of doing no harm to others. So we realize that harm is going to come to others if what's been programmed to experience in the future is going to harm others. When we become aware of that, we have accountability and responsibility to prevent that from happening by standing on the law of one. Now the law of one is present to this chief. And as a result, what was going to happen didn't happen, and that's called making an intersection with a Mr. Smith. A four-way tetrahedron comes into the office that's running on eternal fire. See how that works? So you can see how that works being in every organization when a Neo, right, is there in all the machines, the cyborgs, if you will, the robots, or if you will, those beings that are programmed to carry out all of their rule-based task modalities on behalf of a corporate military hierarchy. Okay, that's how it works. So in other words, it doesn't matter whether you're going to work for the Federals, as Yellow Rose did a brilliant job of laying this all out. It's all a corporate, what I call a corporate umbrella stand. You just have different umbrella stands. Okay, it's a shell game. You know, you see the umbrella, like the curve, right? And so everything comes under their control. So they want to bring every corporation ultimately under every control. They're all competing against each other, but they're all working under one command function, which is artificial intelligence. That's right. So that what that means is that now Neo, which isn't running on artificial light because we're running on eternal light, which is eternal unconditional love, is now present in the face of another Mr. Smith. Now Mr. Smith realizes what you are. So when it realizes what you are, depending on where I happen to be, will determine what my future is going to be and whether they want a Neo in their presence. Because it means that the light is always going to expose what it is they're going to experience in the future, which isn't what love is. As a result of the loss of energy in them, by virtue of the decisions that they make, from which it comes, which is the underlying causality, otherwise known as the point of origin. We represent the point of origin, which is an original musician. So naturally, we know, experiencing eternal unconditional love, somebody who isn't going to experience what that is as a result of the decisions that they make that they've been programmed to experience in their future. That's future time. But there is no time when you're a Neo. You're experiencing eternity everywhere you go, unless you're experiencing something less than that by the operating systems that we have a connection with, which is our antennas. So you can imagine how this is going to work in all these different companies or organizations, unless you choose to go to work for yourself. But whenever you're going to work for yourself, you're still attached to the same money system. So that means that the money that I'm using, which is the money that comes to adrenochrome harvesting, is what I call dark money, blood money. So when you know that as 5 years of age, now we go back to why I was living on the island of Kauai, and you get, and of course, psychedelics played a part in all this, is realize she's giving us everything that we need. Much in the way that living like a paleo man, which means, hey, I'm getting pure water wherever the water's flowing down rivers and creeks and out of springs, right? You realize that all the plants that are there providing you healing medicine, right? So you realize there's a difference between having a relationship with a corporation which doesn't have any love for you. Its primary goal is to suck energy out of you. And the difference between being with a goddess and a powerful spirit with an oversoul that is giving us everything that we need because the purity from which it comes, which is through our own heart and soul. Same as it does through me. And it does through others that are experiencing what love is in them and living spirit with a soul of gifting energy away. That's love and service to others. A corporation is in service to self by definition. So when you're going to work for a corporation that is service to self, then you know that you're simply a source of energy from which it's going to use in order to perpetuate itself what it's aware of, which is itself dead energy. Because it's not experiencing what love is. It's not experiencing the one. And it's not experiencing the law of one, which is the law of least effort, which is the law of spheres, which means go with the flow, experience what love is everywhere we go. And that's go green, mama. Golden fire dragon. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gold. Superconductor. Brrr. Purple hearts. Purple hearts. Purple hearts. They even inverted that. I know they invert everything, don't they? Yeah. It's really a major insult when naturally I have an enormous and infinite amount of love and compassion for anybody that's ever served in the military line, actually anybody that ever gets injured or loses any kind of voltage, right? But they pin a purple heart on somebody. It's like saying, we train you to be a killer, and in the course of trying to kill others or defend yourself on our behalf as a military corporation to control more of what we don't love, we're going to give you a purple heart to acknowledge your sacrifice. Violet rays, UV light. And what does UV light do? UV rays purifies, right? Burns stuff off. I know. It's. I'm glad we're at the end of the wire. Telegraph wire. Remember Morse code? Did da da da. Dash dash dash. Have a good day.